Then Liliana made a swallowing motion, like she was drinking the blood that was stuck on her throat. As if commanded by my fear, she turned her ghostly white face towards me and smiled. I'm currently writing this from my phone while hiding inside a car. It's past 3 a.m. There's no one around. I don't even know where I am. And I'm too terrified to even look up from my phone. Even though I managed to escape, I'm still afraid she might find me. To help you understand how things came to this, I have to tell you the story from the beginning. I met Daniel, my soon-to-be ex-boyfriend, at church. I had recently moved from Labrador to Tulsa to attend college, so I really didn't know anyone aside my roommate Alicia and a few other girls that hang around with her. But we weren't really friends. I overheard them talking about me once, and I guess they found me too prudish and weird to be part of their group. I want to say that they are wrong, but I did have a very religious upbringing inside a small community. There's a lot of things that I didn't experience, but part of the reason for me moving was because I wanted to see the world outside that mindset. But all in my time. Baby steps, I told myself. Baby steps. My parents weren't very happy when I told them I was dating Daniel so soon after meeting him. For them, there were rituals and steps that had to be taken for the courtship itself to start, let alone the relationship. But they were a little more calm when I told them that I had met Daniel at church, and that he was very respectful and God-loving. That made me like him more too. He didn't say much about his family, aside from the fact that they were really religious, and a bit extremists at times, but never too harsh. They were firm but fair, that's what he always said. I didn't know how religious was really religious, but I was a 22-year-old virgin having ice cream on a Saturday night with my first boyfriend that I met on church, so maybe my frame of reference wasn't the best. Alicia and the other girls would often mock our relationship and say it was too childish because Dan respected my faith enough not to pressure me to do anything that was against my beliefs. Or so I thought. Since my whole family was back in Canada and I didn't have any friends, he invited me to spend a couple of days with him and his family at their house to celebrate his sister's birthday. It was a tradition they had, to always spend their birthdays together, and even though he had been leaving on a different town for years, he always made a point to go back home on those occasions. At that time, I remember thinking that I had hit jackpot, that Dan was the perfect family guy and would, one day, be the perfect father to our children. Again, I couldn't be more wrong. When we got there, his family was very warm and welcoming. They treated me like I was their own daughter and I felt at ease. I met everyone from his parents to his grandparents, and the neighbor that lived 2 houses down the road. Everyone but his sister, the person which birthday we were supposed to be celebrating that weekend. Daniel then told me that she had a very frail health and would usually stay inside her room resting, but that I was not supposed to bother her in any way because any strong emotions could be fatal for her weak heart. Another thing, me and Daniel were not allowed to stay in the same room because his mom considered this to be inappropriate, so they put me in the one next to Liliana, his sister. As I settled into my room and walked around the house with Daniel and his parents, I noticed that, for a family who is supposedly very religious, the house was completely empty of any kind of religious imagery. I found it odd at the time, but that soon slipped from my mind. Maybe they were just really big in following the Old Testament. At night I was plagued with weird sensations I cannot properly describe and dreams I do not remember. And maybe that was for the best. I already have enough memories for a lifetime of nightmares. On Saturday, the whole household was getting ready for Liliana's birthday and the following day. There was no sign of Dan when I went downstairs, but I offered to help with anything, and his mom told me to pick up some apples from the trees in the backyard, but only the reddest ones I could find. I went into my bedroom to change my clothes, and I could swear I heard muffled noises coming from the other side of the wall. Like someone whispering something, but it was too low to actually pick up on what they were saying. I got scared, thinking that maybe Liliana's health was somehow worse and she needed help, but not one was there to listen. So I went to her door and knocked on it 3 times. I was met with nothing but silence. I wanted to call out to her mom, but was afraid she would consider it impolite for me to scream her name from upstairs. Maybe I could help Liliana alone. When I opened the door, I was immediately confronted with an awful, putrid smell that made me gag a couple of times. I guess Daniel's mom must have heard me struggling not to vomit all over the floor because she came running towards me. I was hoping she would come to ask me if I was okay and maybe offer me some water. Her mother straight up slapped me across the face, screaming in a language I didn't understand, but sounded vaguely like German or maybe Polish. Daniel came running towards me and also began to scream with his mom in the same weird language. He took me back to my room and apologized 1,000 times for his mom behavior. He explained that ever since Liliana's condition got worse, she wasn't able to do even simple things alone, and she would sometimes relieve herself on her bed, and that was why the room smelled so bad. His mom didn't like anyone seeing her daughter like that, so that was why she'd freaked out. I wasn't pleased with the situation, but I tried to be understanding because they were clearly going through a very difficult time. His mom even came to me afterwards and apologized herself. Although things became normal after that, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. Very wrong. Sometimes I would get into the kitchen and have the distinct feeling that they would abruptly end a conversation as soon as I walked in. And over the course of the day, his family would often bring me food that I didn't ask for, and just leave the room after I'd have eaten the whole thing. Night came by and I wasn't in the mood to join them in whatever family activity they'd been planning since morning. So I said I wasn't feeling well. Anne's asked if I could stay behind. They seemed reluctant at first, but in the end they agreed. Although I wasn't necessarily feeling bad, I needed some sleep, so I tried taking a nap while they were out. Not longer after that, I began hearing what sounded like scratches coming from the other side of the wall. Once again, Liliana needed help and no one was there to assist her but me. The noises got louder and louder to the point that I couldn't ignore them anymore. Whatever was wrong with Liliana, I was about to find out. I opened the door with shaky fingers. Liliana was still laying down on her bed in the same position as before. She hadn't moved a single inch. As I got closer, I could see that her skin seemed unhealthily pale and that her hair had no shine to it. I called out her name, trying my best not to scare her, but she didn't even flinch. It was like she was dead to the world. I extended my arm to gently touch hers, but when my fingertips touched her pale skin, my hand recoiled back instantaneously. She was so cold. Why was she so cold? I finally turned her towards me to find a pair of bluish eyes staring into nothing and flies coming in and out of her mouth. I tried to hold the contents of my stomach in place, but it was impossible. Her image was too gruesome. What kind of family would keep a dead daughter inside the house and still celebrate her birthday like nothing was wrong? No matter the answer, I needed to get out of there. Desperately. But before I could do so, I felt a small prick on my arm and turned around to find Daniel's mom staring back at me. Things started to get fuzzy and confused after that, and I lost consciousness. I don't know how much time it passed, but when I woke up, I was in another room surrounded by candles. Everywhere. As my vision began to focus on my surroundings, I noticed numerous symbols and ornaments on the walls. They were religious, all right, just not the type of religion I was led to believe. Feeling strangely cold, I noticed that all my clothes were gone, and when I tried to get up, I was stopped by ropes tying my hands and feet. When I looked to my side, I saw Liliana's body laying there, in the exact same position I was, except all her limbs were free. The door opened, and Daniel and his family got in, all completely naked and covered with red-tinted symbols all over their skin. They glistened in the dim light. I think it was blood. Crying, I asked them what was going on and begged them to let me go, but no one said anything. Their eyes were dark and vacant, and their mouths were twisting in some sort of devilish grin. They were going to kill me. There was no doubt in my mind. Holding an intricate-looking knife, Daniel knelt beside me and told me she was the chosen one. Pure and holy like no other before. Without her, nothing would work, he said. His mother then said that Liliana was a perfect soul, born to receive Lilith and rule the land of the living. But now that her body was gone, I would serve as her vessel. Liliana's soul would inhabit my body and then go on to fulfill her destiny. Daniel ran the knife across my tight and let my blood drip into a glass already full of blood. He made me drink some of it, and put the rest inside his sister's open mouth as his mom chanted things in that same weird language. My eyes were glued to his movements, but suddenly, everything went quiet. They seemed to be waiting for something. Then Liliana made a swallowing motion, like she was drinking the blood that was stuck on her throat. Only that couldn't be possible. She was dead. Her body was far beyond decomposing. I've seen it with my own eyes. As if commanded by my fear, she turned her ghostly white face towards me and smiled. Her yellow-stained teeth and grayish gums on full display, she started to get up, slowly and with great difficulty. Daniel made a motion as if to help her, but his mom stopped him. Then they all backed out of the room and left there alone. With her. Liliana's body twitched and convulsed as she tried to make her way towards me, and I desperately tried to free myself from the ropes. Her eyes were blank and lifeless, but somehow I knew she was staring at me. I could feel it in my bones. Her stare made the blood on my veins turn cold. I backed up as far as I could, but ended up knocking some of the candles down. Using the fire to my advantage, I managed to burn some pieces of the rope from my hands, and when they were torn off, I was able to remove the one from my feet. We played like cat and mouse, circling around the room a couple of times. But different from me, she didn't have proper control of her body, and would often burn small section of her decaying flesh. The smell was unbearable. Luckily, the room we were was on the ground floor, and I saw my one chance of getting out of there alive. But I would need a distraction. Holding one of the candles, I began to burn all the curtains, leaving the one I got out from to the end. Peeking from outside, I watched as the flames consumed the room. And her. It didn't take long for Daniel and his family to barge in. They screamed and cried, trying to put the fire down. Hopefully it was too late for her. I took advantage of their desperation and ran around the house towards the main entry. I opened the door slowly and grabbed a coat from the hanger and the first set of car keys I found. They turned out to be from his dad's old truck. I fumbled a bit with the car, trying to remember how to drive a stick, and ended up making too much noise making the damn thing work. I got the engine running just as Daniel got out from the main entrance holding a shotgun. Luckily, it was too dark for him to hit me, or he was just that bad of a shot. Either way, I managed to escape. From the review mirror, I watched the flames spreading through the house. Soon it was a bright red dot in the middle of nowhere, Texas. I'm not one to wish harm onto others, but I truly hope they all die a terrible and painful death. I drove until I could no longer see any sign of the house, and then drove some more just in case. I only stopped when the shivers that had spread across my body were gone, and I could breathe without wanting to cry. Now I have no money, no documents, barely any cell signal, and only half a tank of gas. I don't know where I'm going from here, but at least I'm alive.